Hello and welcome back into Baseball Nation, episode 6 of the podcast. Baseball's back, baby.
The Tigers.
The Tigers in Dureek, as we have them as our 30th team in the MLB. They suck. 0-3.
Okay, son. Well, we'll go ahead and get into the AL recap. We'll start off with the 2-1 Yanks. They played the first game in the MLB season, and Judge bops the first bomb, gets it to go. Stanton also hits an absolute nuke, 486 today. Volpe debuts, really good average for him to start. And Cole, definitely a check mark for that start, as we may see him in our top 3 pitchers later in the episode. Next up, we'll go to the top team in the AL East, the Tampa Bay Rays. Sweep, 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 sweep. Bring out your brooms. Jeffrey Springs, 12 Ks, career high through 6 innings today. He didn't allow a hit to the Tigers, and they brought in just their relievers that always go for a 3 ERA. Next up, the 2-1 Red Sox, crazy finish as the O's drop the final out in Game 2 of the series, and they end up losing it. That's a bad look, to be honest with you. It's a really bad look, to be honest with you. The 1-2 O's, same thing. They dropped the final out. Adley, 5-hit game. Who knows? Maybe sleep on the Orioles this year. Maybe we'll just snooze on them because you can't drop the final out of the game and then come back and lose it. Next up, the 1-2 Jays. Bassett just got shelled. He got absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree. But hey, George Springer Rakes had a really nice first game of the series. Next one in the AL Central, where the 3-0 Twins, Pablo Lopez K's 8 in his first game. They win the first 2 games 2-0. Gallo hits 2 bombs in the final game of the series. 2-1 Cleveland, crazy series versus the Mariners. Obviously a super exciting game on that first night. Kwan, 5 RBI night. But that night it was all in the bat of Ty France, who hit a 3-run bomb, which was the only runs of the game. And then next up, the White Sox. They split versus the Stros, and Grandal hits a big bomb in Game 1. The Tigers reek, man. They're horrible. 3 runs in the series. Meadows played really well, actually. Went back home to Tampa Bay. And next up is the 0-3 Royals, who also reek. They're horrible. Rough week for them. They didn't score until Game 3. Not what you like to see as a fan. I mean, the AL Central, arguably, they suck. The AL West, next team to look at, next little grouping of teams to look at, the Rangers. They were killing the Phils. They got smacked with DeGrom on the bump. DeGrom did K. All of his 7 outs were strikeouts, but he got kind of hit around. And they're the Sunday night slate, so we can't wait to watch them after filming this pod. And next up, the 2-2 Astros. Obviously, the Sox inch Game 1. Jordan hits a bomb. Tucker really good on defense and hit the bomb. And Framber dealt. Framber pitched really, really well. He didn't give up any runs in his start. The 2-1 Angels. Tungsten Armo Doyle. If you haven't seen the memes, Ohtani, it's like he's the first person since Tungsten Armo Doyle in 1833 to do this or do that. Yeah, well, he's the first person to strike out 10 and not give up any runs on opening day, and his team still loses because the Angels reek. Trout and Ohtani back-to-back in Game 3. Ohtani, I mean, he's looking really good to start the season off. And then the A's, they find a way to win in Game 1, but they still suck. People have to remember that. They obviously inch out. They do some historical, technically. They sucked so bad, and then it made up for it because they were playing a garbage team. But then the 1-2 Mariners, Cal Raleigh, he hits a nice double. And J-Rod, it's the J-Rod show still. He makes diving plays and he hits well. He looks really good, really looks bound to have a great season. That's all I got for the AL.
Couple things to highlight there. I thought it was pretty crazy. Judge, obviously, first AB hits a bomb. I think that the script, people back home were dying laughing as he hit a home run against a team that some people thought he was going to be on for a couple minutes.
Arson Judge, baby. You saw the guy with the Twitter flag in right field.
Then we got, the Twins look good. They obviously swept the Royals, so good for them. They're one of the few undefeated teams remaining. Then we got the Royals Royals, they just could not do anything.
They were just like the Tigers. I mean,
yeah, they couldn't show up at all this weekend. And then one of the biggest headlines, obviously, Ohtani, Tungsten O'Doyle. People need to hop off on him. I think he's overrated. No, I'm just kidding. Tungsten O'Doyle.
look at the kid.
Tungsten's the real deal. Ohtani obviously hits a bomb as Trout and him go back to back. Angels 2-1. Hopefully they can keep it up this year. I really want to see them in the playoffs. That'll be a fun team to see. Moving on to the NL, we're going to start with the NL East. The Mets 3-1, leading that NL East big division. Kodai Senghei looks gross. 5 1/3, 8 Ks and 1 run against the Marlins today. Lindor has been struggling. That's something to look out for. Average is at 154. Then you got Eduardo Escobar also struggling with the 53 average. But Tommy Pham's been carrying the weight of that lineup. 444 average. Next up, we got the Braves. My team, 2-1. Looked really good the first 2 games of the series as Strider shoved. Something to look forward to is Jordan Schuster. Hopefully he can do well. Today he struggled a little bit in his debut, but he figured it out after that rough first inning. Also something to take notice of, Max Fried got injured in the first game of the series. Hopefully he can be back pretty soon as we're going to need him. Dylan Dodd will be starting for the Braves on Tuesday, another young guy. Hopefully he can pick it up for Kyle Wright.
He probably rakes.
He does not rake. Next up, Darno has been raking, averaging the 400. Acuna steals a hilarious base where the Nationals pitcher picks off twice. Acuna starts laughing and steals third base easily. It's just a high IQ play. Hopefully we'll see that more often this year. And we got Matt Olson, the Georgia native, starting to heat up for the Braves. 2 bombs this weekend. Next up, we got the Nats. They didn't really do anything special this weekend. Mackenzie Gore shoved today. Lane Thomas has been raking with a 417 average. Just an overall bad offense from them as they put up 2 runs, 1 run, and 4 runs this entire weekend. So hopefully they can pick it up the rest of the year. Next up, we got the Marlins. Very cool new jerseys. I really like the teal colorway. They've got a very ugly patch on the left shoulder. Hopefully those sponsorships don't ruin the jerseys that are coming up. I'm afraid they're going to. Hot spot for the Marlins, Luis Arraez, 9 for 16 with a 562 average. But Jazz Chisholm, the glorious Jazz, is hitting 154. Something that we need to look out for is all the people are putting out Jazz's name and he's not doing anything, but people like Arraez get no attention and they're doing way better.
Yeah, I'm fed up with it. You can't just popularize the players you want to and leave the solid players alone. I heard less about Gallo's 2 home runs than I did about Jazz's 1. I heard the same amount about Trace Thompson's 3 home runs as I did about Jazz's 1. And the only reason half the reason you hear about the Trace Thompson is because Klay Thompson hits 3s and then Trace hits 3 bombs. Like, it's enough. I'm fed up with it. Golly.
Next up, we have another winless team, the Phillies. They are yet to play their 3rd game of their series against the Rangers tonight. So far, they're 0-2. They've been pummeled, to say the least, in the first 2 games. Wheeler got shelled. Soto has been sucking for them. ERA is infinite. WHIP is infinite.
Greg Ball.
Greg Ball ruined their chances at winning. They shelled DeGrom, and then Greg came in and single-handedly ruined that game for them. So that's the NL East. We're going to head and go and move to the NL Central, where we're going to be starting with the Cardinals. 2-1. Their offense has been raking. A combined 3.38 average. That's absolutely absurd. Paul Goldschmidt's been the front runner of that offense with a 500 average. Brendan Donovan has been raking, and Jack Flaherty shoved. So really good for the Cardinals as they will be taking on my Braves the first half of this week. Next up, we got the Reds. India has been raking with a 455 average. Nick Lindolo, a big prospect for the Reds, had the most swing and misses on opening day weekend with 22. So good job by Nick. Graham Ashcraft also shoved for the Reds. So good work for the Reds as they are Votto-less, but they're 2-1. Next up, we got the Brewers, the offensive list Brewers, as they had 10 hits in 3 games, which is abysmal. Their combined average is 164. Brandon Woodruff does his thing and shoves, and Corbin got shelled. So not good for Corbin Burns. Next up, we got the Pirates. O'Neill has been raking. Horrible pitching by the Pirates as they have a 5.24 ERA. So that's not good for them. Then we got the Cubs. Dansby's been raking 7 for 12 in his new pinstripes, batting .583 for the Cubs. Cody Bellinger, a big prospect. Not a big prospect, a big name. They got 0 for 11 in his Cubs' first weekend. Stroman shoved 6 innings, 8 Ks, and their team ERA a 1.50. So they've been doing really well on the pitching side, but hitting not so much as they have a 1.80 average. Wrapping it up in the NL West, we got the Dodgers. They went 2-2. Definitely not how they wanted to start the year. Trace Thompson hit a 3-home run game last night, so that was awesome to see. Will Smith has been raking. .571 average. Dustin May back and healthy. He's doing good again. Great to see. 7 innings scoreless from him. Then we got the Padres. Soto's struggling. He's got a 91 average. The pitcher's struggling big time for the Padres. And Xander, 5 for 10 with his new team. So that's good to see for Xander. Glad he's comfortable there. Rockies 2-2. Another 2-2 team in this NL West. Crone had a 3-homer weekend with a .467 average. He absolutely killed it this weekend. He definitely made an appearance in our top 5 players of the week. Next up, we have Kyle Freeland. He did an amazing job. So that's good for the Rockies. D-backs, another 2-2 team. 4 2-2 teams in this very good looked at NL West. D-backs went 2-2. Very bad offense. Average was 170. ERA was 6.84. Really shocking how they went 2-2. Gallen, their best arm, got shelled. He had a 9.64 ERA. So not good for the D-backs, but they still got it done this weekend going 2-2. Giants, the last team in the NL West. Tyro Estrada, 3.33 average. Logan Webb, glad to see him doing well again. 12 Ks. Really good job out of Logan. He battled really well with the Yankees' best arm, Garrett Cole. And that is going to wrap it up for the National League.
Wow, what a National League we had this week. I mean, is it safe to say that NL West is mid? All the teams are 2-2, and their last team's 1-2. It's not safe to say, to be honest, because I mean, you look at the top half of that division. I mean, the NL East, they're just a good group of ball clubs, except for the Marlins and the Nationals and the Phillies this weekend apparently. And I mean, the NL Central. Rare NL Central W, as they actually have 3 2-win teams this weekend. Good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the main storylines that I thought was funny is both Rogers pitched for the Giants. That is just amazing. The odds that both of their kids are on the exact same team and they both pitched out of the pen. They both did pretty well too, so that was fun to watch. Another big headline is, let's see, we got India. He's been raking. Hopefully he can do some good stuff for the Reds. And Trace Thompson, 3 home runs. He's been a low name. I think he can really shock some people this year.
Yeah, I mean, Al Avila traded Trace Thompson to the Dodgers for some lunch money. And he just hit 3 bombs, and that's triple the amount the Tigers have to this point in the year. Love to see it. Maybe the biggest story out of the NL West, proposal in the outfield. And somebody decided to get absolutely leveled. I thought it was going to go through for a second as the first time I saw the video, and in comes the security team, and boom, he's out for the month. And he's probably out of the Dodgers stadium for the rest of his life, I would guess. He'll get you banned. He
tried to go very extravagant, and he didn't let his girlfriend/fiance make the decision. The security guard made the decision. So that was pretty funny to watch. Another funny thing to watch, I'm sure you've seen the memes all over Instagram. J-Ram, goofy swing, swung in a slider low at his foot and face planted on the plate. So not good for J-Ram. Another thing to look out for, college baseball, 2 heavyweight battles this week. LSU versus Tennessee happened this weekend. That was a fun series to watch. Mikhail knows a lot about it.
Yeah, I mean, LSU, Tennessee, obviously those are the 2 big powerhouse programs you love to see, and Dylan Cruz is hitting so well up to this point in the season. Another series in college baseball I don't want you to sleep on. Wake Forest sweeps Clemson. I mean, they're looking really, really solid to this point in the year. They have a few of the best hitters in the country and a few of the best arms in the country. Really good for them. Now time for us to get into our Who's Hot versus Who's Not segment.
We're going to start it off with teams who's hot versus who's not. We're going to go ahead and start with batting average leaders. The highest batting average team, you might say Padres, Dodgers, Braves. Rangers. Orioles. Wow. That's awesome to see. Then you got the Cardinals at 3, Braves at 4, Red Sox at 5. So all those teams have been doing it on the offensive side. Mikhail knows the home run leaders.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I do. Obviously, when a team gets 3 home runs from one dude, they're going to have to take the lead, right? And that's going to be the Dodgers. And obviously the Orioles are popping it out of the yard this weekend. They sold their game. They're in Fenway. You expect them to pop it out of the yard there. So, I mean, they got it done. They got second place in the home run leaders. But what I'm impressed by is the ERA leaders. The Minnesota Twins gave up only 4 runs this weekend.
None of them were earned, by the way.
Yeah, none of them earned. I mean, they just pitched great. All against the Royals, who reek.
To finish out that home runs, Rangers tied. They also had 5 bombs. Rockies with 5, obviously, because C.J. Cron. And then the Red Sox with 4. First walk-off of the year, we forgot to talk about Adam Duvall finding a new home in Fenway as he had 4 extra base hits yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, the Tigers have 1 home run, too. Yeah, so also. Yeah, I mean, don't
Tigers
forget
about We got a depressed Tigers fan over here. All right, in second place for ERA, the Rays. The Rays do it every year on the pitching staff. They did play the Tigers, who reek. But the Rays pitching staff looked really good. Jeffrey Springs, again, 6 innings, no hits, no runs, 1 walk, 12 Ks. You can't do much better than that, so that was crazy to watch. Then we got the Royals with a 1.5 ERA, which is very surprising out of them as they went 0-3 on the weekend. The Braves also did very solid with a 1.5, and so did the Cubs with a 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you saw some good stuff this weekend from some of those teams. I mean, they're pretty solid teams, let's be honest. But, I mean, the teams that are getting it done on the bump in terms of strikeouts, which are a lot more fun to watch, to be honest, than Jeffrey Springs goes out there. Obviously, he struck a lot of dudes out. But, I mean, the strikeout leaders are the Astros, the best pitching team in the MLB, in my opinion. The Padres, the White Sox, the Yankees, and the Mets all got it done. They were just shelling dudes. I mean, they're throwing the right pitch in the right count, and they're getting the K. And obviously, the White Sox were kind of doing it this weekend with 29 Ks, and they led hits. Jabs knows the rest of the hits leaderboard.
Yes, I do. White Sox with 32, so do the Rockies as they had 32. Rounding it out with the Orioles, Rangers, and Dodgers. Some shocking teams up there as the White Sox only went 2-1 on the weekend, but they had the most hits in the league so far. Some RBI leaders are the Rangers as they put up an absolute shellacking on the Phillies in the first 2 games. Dodgers in second, Orioles in third. Red Sox and Rays tied for 4th.
Yep, and I mean that's the biggest stats to look at this week on the team side, and so it's about time to hop in to the player side of things. And obviously these are a little more broadcast out throughout the ether of who's doing good, and the top batting average guy is Wander Franco on the weekend. He had over 650 this weekend. He was just smacking the ball around. He had a really great weekend at the plate. And he was just doing it against the Tigers. He was getting the ball out of the yard. Second in average, we know it's Adam Frazier. Adam Frazier had a really good weekend. And, I mean, he popped the bomb, too, this weekend. So definitely a good weekend for the Big A. Next up on that list, obviously, you've got guys like Adolis Garcia, who had a great weekend. Luis Arraez, who had a great weekend. And Dansby Swanson, who all had great weekends on the hitting side of things. They were just able to inch those knocks out and do what they do best, which is get on base.
Another hot spot this weekend was Adley Rutschman. People don't talk about enough how good he is. He's in his mid-20s. People think he's in his early 20s, but he did play his full college career at Oregon State. So I can't wait to see what he can do. Hopefully the Orioles extend him, as I think that would really benefit them. We shall see. He should get paid pretty soon as he had a 5-hit performance on opening day. He also had a really good weekend. Something I want to talk about is where do you think Adley ranks in the top AL catchers?
I mean, he might be the number one catcher in the AL. I mean, Real Muto's obviously in the other league, and none of the other teams really have anything that can challenge him. Jose Trevino's obviously solid, but I just don't think there's anything in that division that challenges them. But next, I think we want to get into the pitching leaders. Obviously, we saw some good performances. We're not going to go over the ERAs. Obviously, they're a little skewed with Jesse Chavez at the top. Jesse Chavez throws arguably the slowest fastball in the MLB. But in terms of pitching, guys, we can definitely talk about strikeouts, as Jeffrey Springs and Logan Webb have 12 apiece and lead the MLB with strikeouts. Falling behind them is Cole, Cease, and Ohtani. Cole has 11, and Cease and Ohtani had great starts, notching 10 Ks.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what Cease can do. He finished second in his AL Cy Young last year, so can't wait to see what he can do. Another big category that we're going to focus on a lot this year is stolen bases with the new rules implemented. Jorge Mateo, 4 stolen bases. Cedric Mullins with 3. Jazz McCormick with 3. The money man, Corbin Carroll, and Anthony Volpe with 3. So a bunch of young guys getting it done early. The Orioles with 7 stolen bases, which is absolutely remarkable.
Yeah, the youngsters swiping bags. You love to see it, and it's really awesome to see, especially a guy like Corbin Carroll and Volpe. I mean, you want marketable stars. Stealing bags is a way to be a marketable star. Just wait till we get to the playoffs and there's stolen bases for tacos. And so next up, we're going to get into our biggest segment, the one we've been looking forward to. The whole podcast has led up to it, where we rank our top 5 position players and our top 3 starters in the whole league. Small sample size today. So we're going to go ahead and get in we'll start with the honorable mentions for the position players. Who do you have as your first honorable mention, Jabs?
You know, I got presented with this question a couple minutes ago, and I was just thinking, I was skimming through the stats. Who is worthy of this? And 2 names came to mind. Adley Rutschman and Dansby Swanson. Adley, again, 5 hits. He had another towering shot. People love his swing. He's, in my mind, a top 3 catcher in the league. Maybe a top 1 by the end of the year. Could be in that MVP race. So my pick will be Adley Rutschman.
Claps for them. They didn't make it into the top 5 because this top 5 is loaded. The OPS leader after weekend 1, number 5, Adam Frazier.
Over 2 OPS. Adam raked this weekend flat out. New team and Adam showing up big time.
Yeah, he got it done this weekend. So next up, we're going to go to number 4. Who is it, Jabs?
Another guy on a new squad. Luis Arias, 9 for 16. Dude got it done for the Marlins. Again, like we talked about earlier, he should be promoted more than Jazz in our opinion. But hey, that's just the way they see it and the way they view it. They want to push out the young stars, and I guess Luis is not one of them. But Luis gets it done day in and day out. He has the most hits since the beginning of the season last year, and nobody talks about it.
Next up, number 3, he puts you in a trance. Trayce Thompson. What a weekend from him. Obviously, he went for 3 home runs. Green. Oh, baby. What a weekend. What a weekend for Trayce. And so right now, he's the 3rd best player in the MLB on the hitting side of things. So next up, we're going to send it to Jabs. Number 2 from a down south series.
Wander Franco. He led the 3-0 Rays big time this weekend. As Mikhail hit on earlier, he was just hitting piss rods everywhere. Next up, the
drum roll, please.
Number 1 player through opening weekend is
CJ Cron, baby. What a weekend for CJ. Obviously, 3 bombs, but they came in different games. Obviously, people are going to argue with us in the comments who should have been number 1. But we think it's CJ Cron. He got it done.
467 average too.
And the Rockies just split a series. They reek. And the Padres are supposed to be the team. They were the top team in the news before the year. And so everyone loves them coming into the year. So next up, we're going to get into starting pitchers. Obviously, 2 honorable mentions. Jabs knows them, and you know both of them real well because they're definitely big names.
two guys to watch out for in the AL Cy Young this year. Dylan Cease finished second last year. He's a Georgia alum. I can't wait to see what he does. 10 Ks. And so does Shohei. Both had 10 Ks. Next up, our number 3, our podium finish is
Garrett Cole. He
Yeah.
got it done this weekend. 11 strikeouts, passes Ohtani just by a slight margin. Ohtani was an honorable mention this week. And I mean, just you gotta love what Cole did.
new haircut for Garrett, by the way.
Garrett Bear, baby.
Might work.
And next up, number 2, he pitched in the same matchup as Garrett Cole. Who is it?
Logan Webb, 12 Ks. Logan was one of the best pitchers in 2021. Had a down year last year. Great to see him back. Everybody loves Logan Webb.
Next up, we're back to the number 1 guy on the pitching side of things.
Drum roll.
The nastiest changeup in baseball, Jeffrey Springs. Jeffrey came out of a very late round, 20th round guy, and he has climbed up through the ranks to the pinnacle achievement, being on top of Baseball Nation's weekly starting pitchers top 3 list. Obviously, that's what you want in life. There's a few things. Getting the big leagues is one, and once you get in the big leagues, you're like, you're
Everything
aiming for the
shifts.
Baseball Nation starting pitchers leaderboard, and you did it, Jeff. If
It
you
all
pitch
changes.
good again next week,
You could see it. You
You
can see
could-
yourself here again, Jeff.
that'd be good for you, Jeffrey. I'll tell you that much. And thank you so much for watching this week, our first podcast of the new year, opening week. Thanks for watching.
Dude, I sold again on Cease. I don't know what the hell I was saying.
Rare Doggy.